Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Michael Zuber, one rental at a time, back with this Wednesday expert, longest running expert, and just an amazing person and investor and mom, Anna Kelly. Hi.
Hi, so good to be here with you.
Thank you for coming back every week. Thank you for leading by example. Without you, this channel doesn't exist. You kind of set the standard that others have followed. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael. It's my honor.
Awesome. Well, one of the things I want to talk about today is actually a topic where you and I might disagree, and that's okay. I love the fact that the experts on this channel often disagree with me. It's what makes the channel great.
Yes.
I want to talk about, I want to take, a number 100%, and I want us both to estimate where do we see the pain coming in the housing market? And I'm going to kind of break it down to residential versus commercial. Now, we're not going to do mixed use in office and retail warehouse. It's very much, rental properties. So when I look out in the future, this year, next year, the year after, I think there's pain coming.
Yes.
I think there's some pain coming in some residential spots, maybe second homes, maybe some people who got low quality Airbnbs, maybe some people boomerang from areas. But I see a lot more pain in commercial. So I'll go first. That way, if you want, you can disagree if you'd like. But when I think about the pain scale, I think in residential over the next couple of years, it's probably 20% where most of the pain, and it's all because of lending, aggressive assumptions that the LTVs and things that loans can get called, debt service, all of that. I think most of the pain, and hence 80%, will be in commercial. And given that, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing today, is getting 30-year fixed rate debt residential so I can, again, 1031 into an asset that has a lot of pain. How does that feel to you? Am I being too pessimistic, too optimistic? What do you think?
No, I actually agree with you for the most part. I think that, like we talked about in episode number 1, I don't believe there's going to be a major housing crash. I do believe we're in somewhat of an everything asset bubble.
Yes.
Where cheap debt over a decade and fairly easy money if you had good credit has basically propped up all markets: housing, bonds, stocks, pretty much everything, commodities, gold and silver, et cetera. So I do think that party's ending, right? That we're going to see some flatlining. And if you're in stocks and bonds, you're seeing every day how that's coming down significantly.
Yeah.
So I'm very positive that the safest place for my money to be right now is in real estate. That doesn't mean that there won't be pain, right? And when I say real estate, again, I'm talking the same as you with providing people with housing, because when inflation is really bad, the economy has some underlying pain, geopolitically, economically, et cetera. People need 3 things. They need food, they need housing, and they need utilities. And so if I can provide one of those 3, and I'm not in the food or utility business, I'm going to do better than a lot of other things that are discretionary, that are investments people don't necessarily need in times of economic pain. So generally speaking, I believe that there will be pain in real estate, but not significantly. Now, when you talk about the difference between residential and, let's say, multifamily commercial, the biggest risk there is the loan that you have on the deal, right?
Exactly.
So when we talk about commercial, the pain I think that's going to happen, and I've warned about this for a year and a half. Jonathan Twombly has warned about this for a year and a half.
Yes.
Is get out of these bridge debt deals. If your deal has not been priced at a point and it's not stable enough that you can get that yes answer on a Fannie or Freddie multifamily loan, then it's probably too risky. They're forced to take bridge debt. So the last year and a half, I think something like almost 90% of commercial deals have been done with bridge debt.
So I'm lucky enough, or I've earned the status, whatever you're going to call it, being an accredited investor. I can only think of one deal that I came across my desk in the last 2 years that wasn't bridge debt. And not only bridge debt, but IO bridge debt, like the most risky. I'm like, you got to get IO bridge debt for a year with a year add-on. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah. And here's the thing. It works really well in an expanding market when everything's going up and you've got time to value add. Essentially, you're getting interest only because you're removing some occupancy while you're fixing up units. And so you don't have a fully occupied property to cover that mortgage. And the lenders are fine with giving you interest only. So I'm not negative on interest only as long as I've got a fixed rate period after that. So for example, Fannie and Freddie large multifamily loans, they give us interest only for 2 to 3 years pretty regularly, but it's a 20-year loan, 10-year loan, and you've got 5, 7, 10-year rate lock. So the rate lock is what's really important. With bridge debt, these loans are typically 1 to 3 years, and then they reset. You have to refinance them.
Yeah.
So if rates are going up when you have to refinance them, and if values do come down, which they can, a lot of multifamily syndicators say no, commercial values will not come down. So I can talk about why I think
I will put money on that right now. They will come. They absolutely can come down. Again, I have been doing this a long time.
Yes.
And I see so many similarities between the lending structure of housing in '08 and commercial today. Jonathan and I have talked about this. We've actually done the math. You make little tweaks to a building, you can cut it in by 40%. Like
it's crazy. It's crazy. And so what happens is the reason there's a little more risk in multifamily, a lot of people will say, well, supply and demand means there's not enough housing. So you're always going to have enough renters and they're always going to be able to raise rents to keep up with the expenses. But the reality is we do have an affordability issue right now in the country because of this mass inflation, that we've been presented with. And so if you're using bridge debt, and most of the syndicators who have used bridge debt assume that they can refi at rates very similar to where they were in the last year and a half. The problem is, and I've been saying, what if rates go up? We have printed all this money. It has to lead to inflation. And so I've taken that risk off the table and only done deals where I have like 8 years. The last big multifamily deal we did, we have 8 years interest only. And it's not, there's no calling, there's no churning. And so we have time to weather these storms. My other stuff that I own personally, the best I can do is lock in for 5 years. And so, I'm hopeful that rates come back down within 5 years and we'll be fine. But if rates go up and you have bridge debt and values come down, now you have to maintain that loan to value and your debt coverage ratio exactly the same as when you bought it. And so a lot of these investors, unfortunately, aren't going to be able to refinance them. They've got to hope that they can sell while the market's still relatively high. And there is a window for that, Jonathan, because the stock, on the good side for these that have taken that risk, as the stock market goes nuts and the bond market goes nuts, multifamily has typically been a rush to preservation of capital because over time, it doesn't generally lose a lot of value. And so you still have a lot of cash and dry powder that's willing to buy these properties cash, which until that demand is kind of diminished, people will be able to skate through, even though they did some risky deals if they get out now. If this lingers and inflation lingers, there could be definitely more pain in multifamily than what you're even thinking about in residential.
Oh, I totally, So I think that, again, I see so many similarities between multifamily and singles. First, the lending, which we've already hit, so I won't hit it again. But the other one is just the rock solid belief that it only goes up. There's nothing that could blow down our house of cards. We are indestructible. Are you freaking kidding me? You know how cocky syndicators are today?
But let me tell you why, Michael. You've got big organizations, and I'm not slamming them. They're smart. They've been around for a long time, but you have organizations like Marcus and Millichap that just put out their report on cap rates, right? And they're like, it's only going to go better. The cap rates aren't that tied to treasuries or to the Fed rates. And the reality is that's just not true. I've tracked it. Not true. 60s. And so with real estate, whether you're a single family investor, multifamily investor, whatever it is, the way that we make investment decisions and decide what something's valued is the rate of return that we can get for the risk we're taking. So if treasuries are 1.29, which they've been for a long time in that range, 1.29, then cap rates, the cash on cash return essentially that people demand for these investments for apartments are typically about 3% above that, right? Yeah. So if treasuries go up 2%, now the risk-free return is 3%. You're going to demand a higher rate of return for taking the risk of multifamily, especially when a recession might happen, taxes are going up, insurance is going up, rates will go up. We're going to demand a higher rate of return. And that means that cap rates go up and values come down. And that happens consistently. It's not immediate, There's
No,
usually
no,
about a
there's
6 month to year lag.
yes.
And, there's other factors of how safe is real estate versus the stock market, for example. So there's factors that we just don't know the answer to. And what I'm saying is that there's risk that a lot of people think that can't be there, that is really there and rising. So I'm a net seller of large multifamily. We have one great property that has this 8-year fixed debt. But I'm buying smaller properties that I can lock in that loan a lot longer. And smaller properties don't go up and down in value as much as the bigger ones.
It's exactly what I'm doing.
See, we agree 100%, Michael.
I wasn't sure. So the last thing I want to say about this is timing. I will say, to kind of wrap this up, I think any residential pain, again, going back to my numbers, the 20%, I see the residential pain actually occurring first, right? Because again, when you have a recession, it's a very individual, like when you lose your job, it's a depression. When your neighbor loses, it's a recession. If you want to boomerang out of Boise and come back to California, or when I think any resident, like second homes and low quality Airbnbs, I think all of that pain happens first. And some of that can happen this year. I think the commercial pain, almost none of it happens this year. You need that year, that 2-year bridge debt to start coming up, and then for syndicators or sellers to panic. So all of that 80%, almost none of it happens this year.
Yeah.
It all starts to happen late next year. In my opinion, it's really 2024 pain. What do you think?
I will say it's actually already starting.
Is it? Okay.
And it very much depends on the market that you're in. We come back to this over and over and over. Real estate is very regional, right? It's what MSA are you in, major market segment, right? In Texas, Dallas, Austin, taxes have gone up 30 to 50%.
Why I never bought in Texas, right there.
So yeah. Now, granted, we have no income tax, which is great, and no,
I don't live there either, so it doesn't matter.
Right. But if you're all of a sudden, the properties are valued on that rate of return over the net operating income. So if you can't raise your rents to keep up with the expenses, that is a change in the numerator that goes down. Then you've got this cap rate, this risk, this premium on risk at the bottom. When both of them are disrupted, your income comes down and your cap rate goes up, values come down. So what we're already seeing in certain markets, especially in Texas, is that investors are saying, wait a second, we're not buying at asking. They're starting to come down a bit because taxes have gone up.
Yeah. Cap
rates have gone up, and the rates of return, the rate that they're borrowing at has gone up. And so there has to be an adjustment. And so it is starting to happen. I have friends that are investing in the Midwest and the Northwest. They haven't seen that yet, but their taxes haven't skyrocketed.
Gotcha. So it is starting already.
It is starting.
All right. Well, this is going to be fun. This is why we talk to experts. I just love to know things. Again, what am I doing? I'm buying residential properties, so 4 units and below, only doing 30-year fixed rate debt. I don't even care if 30-year fixed rate debt's 8 or 9%, because all I do is figure out the yield. So if I have to offer less, I offer less. And then I'm going to 1031, just like I did last time, into distressed multifamily. I know it's coming. I think for me in my market, it's sometime late next year, maybe early 2024. But that's good news. I'll buy 8, 10, 12 homes between now and then and just wait.
Right. And this is a time where we have to be really, really patient. Don't be so antsy that you got to do a deal. Don't do a deal that doesn't move the needle on your financial goals, and know your market, know your asset class, and these factors that will impact pricing and valuation, income, et cetera. And then go in with what you know. Don't try to go into a different market and start learning all over. Like, go in where you know, stick to that, and then be patient, stick to your fundamentals. And it may take a year before you find really great deals. If so, keep learning, keep watching your market, watch the shifts as they happen, and then buy when the time is right.
Awesome. Anna, where can people find you?
Great. You can find me here every week. You can find me on my playlist on your channel, on social media, Anna Kelly, REI Mom. And if you are looking for coaching in a mastermind, www.reimom.com. And if you want conservative multifamily investments where we invest in the lives of our residents as well, you can find me there at greaterpurposecapital.com if you're an accredited investor.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.